Cohen is a licensed private investigator and the owner of Justice Warrior Investigations. She holds a master's degree in criminal justice, a bachelor's in legal studies, and an associate's in paralegal studies. Heather first gained national recognition on the 2021 true crime series Secrets, Lies, and Private Eyes, and today she continues her mission as the co-host of the Justice Warriors podcast. Through her work, she gives voices to victims' families, uncovers overlooked evidence, and challenges the narratives that often leave the truth in the dark. Tracy Ellis holds an associate's degree in business and a bachelor's in psychology. She's an investigative journalist, podcast host, and co-author with Heather Cohen of Swift Injustice, Framed in the Smokies, and author of the Holly Bobo Trial Guide. Tracy brings a careful investigative lens to every story featured on the Justice Warriors podcast, dedicated to amplifying victims' voices and uncovering the facts behind unsolved cases. Get ready for another riveting episode of the Justice Warriors podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Justice Warriors podcast today. I don't think we have anybody with us just yet, but we'll go ahead and start. We're going to have a guest today, if all goes well. He's going to be calling in from prison. He is a client of mine. He's been a client of mine for a few years now. And some of our followers, anybody that's on our Facebook page, you may remember a while back that I made a post about a client of mine who is incarcerated at Northeast Prison in Tennessee, Northeast Correctional Complex in Tennessee. And this client of mine that's supposed to be coming on today, I'm actually going to see if he's on his way. But he is actually the person that I was talking about in that post when I said that he had been stabbed 44 times and his cellmate had also been stabbed. It was, from what I understand, they were the Trousdale prisoners that had, or inmates that had been brought up from Trousdale. They were allowed into their area. They weren't supposed to be. Somehow or another, some COs seemed to have let it slide, let them into their area. There was a big ordeal, and my client and his cellmate were both stabbed. His cellmate was sent to an outside facility, an outside hospital to be treated. He was stitched up. His 44 stab wounds were stitched up there in the prison. But it was, when it was reported, they said that there were no injuries. And this seems to be a problem that's occurring across a lot of the prisons right now, where things are not being reported correctly. This is a huge issue with Core Civic. And yeah, so we'll just kind of chat in the meantime until he calls in. Of course, you know, it's he's got a call from the prison phone, so you never know, there might be somebody on the phone or something. It's kind of difficult for them to do something at a specific time. But in the meantime, why don't we just go ahead and kind of chat about some of the things that I've been putting out on the Facebook page. Tracy, have you had a chance to look at all that? I know a lot of that you hadn't even seen, right?
Right. The police interviews I hadn't seen, which it was a year later. So everybody's had their time to get their story straight. If that had been done when in the very beginning, might have been a little bit different stories coming out.
Okay, he says his girlfriend said he's about to call now. So, okay, yeah, there were some very disturbing things, even going back, it's crazy because I've watched all those before. But, it seems like every time I watch them, there's something else that like jumps out at me.
Where'd you get those?
Huh?
Where'd you get those?
No, that was all part of that was part of the discovery. Yeah. So I've had those for a long time, but I just, I have to be careful. I have to make sure that the time is right and it's okay to start putting things out. There were so many things, and I know I said this on the Facebook page, but I'm like, hey, why is it that when they asked John Hogshooter where he was, and he says he was at home, and it's like, okay, well, was there anybody there with you? And I think my wife, and then they want Bronwyn, his wife, to, be able to vouch, and it's like, that means, they're trying to establish an alibi for him. But it's like, okay, well, when they talked to Bentley to Tormus, he's like, oh, I was homesick. Oh, okay, you were homesick, and the babysitter didn't see you because you were so sick that you stayed in the bedroom, and she was there for like 12 hours,
And there
but she
needed
didn't
to
even know you
be
were
a
there.
babysitter. There needed to be a babysitter. Why was
I
there a
mean,
babysitter?
it's if
And
he was sick and they needed a babysitter because he was too sick to take care of the kids, I mean, that's understandable.
but he wouldn't
But
be
you,
up the next morning eating breakfast if he was that sick.
well, he said that was her that said that. He didn't say that. He said he never saw her. So that doesn't quite jive. But they just weren't really interested in trying to make it jive. Like they were just all they were really interested in was just debunking that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it
Saying
was
that they
like
did it.
I'm just watching these interviews and I'm thinking, I mean, do they even need the interviewees for these interviews? Because they're the ones the ones doing the interview, the detective, Gregory, Calvin John, they're the ones controlling the narrative. They're the ones telling the story. They don't even need the interviewees for. Okay, here he is. All right, let's answer this.
Hello, this is a free call from an inmate at the Tennessee Department of Corrections, Northeast Correctional Complex. To accept this free call, press 0. To refuse this free call, hang up or press 1. Hello, this call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording.
Can you hear it?
Thank you for using TTL.
Hey, Sean.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear him okay? Can you talk a little bit louder, Sean?
Can you hear me now?
Are you able to talk a little bit louder?
How about now?
Better.
That's better. Yeah, that's better. Okay, so this is Sean Simmons, you guys. He's a client of mine. I've known him now for how many years have I been talking to you, Sean? Probably, oh my gosh, 4 or 5.
About 4.5, 5 years.
Well, I'm familiar with your case, but our listeners are not. So I'm going to let you tell your story, just as if I don't even know it. Just start from the beginning with what happened and why. What landed you there. Oh, hold on one second. Sorry, I lost my screen. Yeah, just what landed you there and the story behind that and what we've been trying to do.
Okay. Well, I'm locked up for shooting somebody that attempted to hurt me first. I was dealing with a girl. I was involved with her, and when we first started out, everything was all right. But for some reason, her brothers didn't like me, and we had an argument, and we got into it. We was breaking up. So when we broke up, her brothers didn't like the breakup, or something took place where they wanted to come after me. Something was told to them that I was beating on her, in which court records and evidence showed that I did not beat her. But they came to my house, jumped out of a moving car, and there was 5 people in the car. They had made phone calls to me saying that they was going to do bodily harm to me, and they was trying to find my location. They drove over there, loaded up 5 people in the car, and came to where I live. They left their party, came to where I stayed at. Jumped out the car, saw me standing on the sidewalk of my house talking to this girl in a truck. And they jumped out of the car car still moving, and they came toward me. So by me knowing that it was the same guys I had been into it with, I tried to give warning. I stepped back. I tried to walk away, but they kept coming. So when I fired a shot, it was only one shot, and it turned out to be a fatal shot to the closest person that was to me. Okay, they got in the car, they left. But instead of them going straight to the hospital, it was told to me by someone in the car that they didn't go straight to the hospital. They had to go put their guns up because the driver himself had the same parole officer that I had, and he had weapons on him. So to avoid any other condition that he may face, they wanted to go clean themselves up and then take him to the hospital. So when they got him to the hospital, he ended up dying, drowning on his own blood, when they could have got him there faster if they weren't trying to cover up their own crimes. I ended up getting charged with first-degree murder. Whereas if they would have killed me, it would have been first-degree murder on their part. But we don't have a self-defense law.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Uh-oh. Okay, are you going to be able to...
Call back.
All right, you're going to be able to call back?
I'll be able to call back.
Okay.
Yeah, so when we'll stop right here and then I'll start from when I caught this charge and they call back. I'll call right back.
Okay.
Thank you for using GTL.
So basically, and I'll wrap that up because I don't know if you guys were able to hear it or not. Sean hired me a few years ago to talk to some witnesses to try to verify that it was actually self-defense. One of the witnesses that I have spoken with is actually the girlfriend that he was with. So he had gotten into an altercation with her. Her brothers, being very protective of her, thought that he was beating her. Whether he was or wasn't, I don't know. That's a whole different charge if he was. But the brothers jumped in the car, as more than one of her brothers jump in a car, and they come after him. And they jump out of their vehicle before the vehicle has even stopped. They have weapons. He tries to warn them. They come after him anyway, and he fires a shot. One shot ends up being fatal, kills the younger brother.
Hello, this is a call from
He said,
an inmate at the Tennessee Department of Corrections, Northeast Correctional Complex. To hear your payment option, to receive future calls, you will need to establish and fund an advance pay prepaid phone account. Credit or debit cards for Visa or MasterCard are accepted. Please be ready. To establish and fund an advance pay prepaid phone account now, press 5. You may also set up an advance pay account online at connectnetwork.com or by calling GTL at
sorry. Okay. Yeah, so when I talked to the girlfriend actually ended up telling me that, see, she had been threatened by stepdad. Stepdad is the dad of the younger brother that was killed. That she had to she better not testify for Sean. And so she was scared, and she didn't, and I've talked to her several times. I just went and talked to her again here not too long ago. And she's just like, look, I got to live out here. I got to, this is my family. I got to live out here. I got to, nobody's going to protect me, so she's scared to do anything. All right, we're going to try this again, y'all.
Which is common, so common.
hello, this is a call from an inmate at the Tennessee Department of Corrections, Northeast Correctional Complex. To hear your payment options, press 0. To refuse this call, hang up or press 1. To prevent calls from this facility, press 9. To receive future calls, you will need to establish and fund an advance pay prepaid
He's trying
phone
to make
account.
me pay for it.
Credit or debit cards from Visa or MasterCard are accepted. Please have your card ready. To establish and fund an advance pay prepaid phone account now, press 5. You may also set up an advance pay account online at connectnetwork.com or by the party which you called has selected to set up or fund a prepaid account for their phone number. This call will now be disconnected so that a prepaid account can be funded.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I didn't know it was gonna like do all that. I guess I have no idea. Maybe he'll call me back again. But so
I wanted to
he
touch on something there.
okay.
As far as witnesses go and the truth actually coming out, it runs both ways. However, that's what's happening. People
Yeah.
are too scared to tell the
Mm-hmm.
truth because of where they live and to protect themselves. That is happening over and over and over. Whether it pushes
All
somebody,
right.
okay.
Oh, he's got his girlfriend on the phone. So, it's okay. All right, you there?
I'm there. I'm here.
Okay. All right, good deal. All right, so we were just kind of talking about your case, and I was telling about how your girlfriend was scared to speak up. And I was kind of talking about why, but you can pick up where you left off.
Okay, so they were making calls, making threats on my life. So they came and acted on those threats, but they came to my house where I live at. So when the shot was fired, one of them died, and they didn't take him to the hospital straight away. So they was trying to cover charges from them, keep themselves from catching charges. So when everything was found out, I went to court. They charged me with first-degree murder, whereas they don't have a self-defense law in Tennessee. So when my defense was self-defense, but at the same time, during the process of this trial and everything, it was brought to my attention that she didn't want to. The girlfriend at the time didn't want to say too much because her stepdad had threatened to do bodily harm to her if she tries to help me. So we had to go through other measures to try to get the truth out due to the fact that it wasn't first degree murder. All throughout my transcripts, you can see that it was an all of a sudden thing, that I never made threats to anybody. You can also see throughout the transcripts that they were the aggressors toward me, not just one brother, but both brothers. And if you coming to talk to someone, it don't take 5 people. It don't take reckless driving. It doesn't take someone to pull up and slam their car in park and jump out of moving cars to come and address you about an issue. I gave a warning before a shot was fired, and it wasn't first degree murder. And
Right.
everything that I'm saying is also in black and white in transcripts.
And I
You
think
can
it's
go to Simmons Y51, and some of those statements that you see there are all court documents that are legitimate court dockets that are come from the court, from my transcripts and appeals that I've had done and been through.
I think it's also important to reiterate that, this young man that got shot while he's being aggressive toward Sean, that he may have actually survived had they not had to, go dump off the guns first.
Right.
Go get rid of the evidence that they were armed, that they were the aggressors.
Right. It's a proven fact that the driver of the car had the same was on as well. He lied at trial saying that he was not on parole. It was proven that he was on parole when this happened. So anytime you have a act of violence, a weapon, or you commit a crime and you're on parole, it's an automatic violation. So if they would have got him there in time, they could have drained the blood off his body and out of his lungs in order for him to live. But like you said, they had to go cover up their own crimes before they taken to the hospital in order to cover themselves. In the
Right.
process of that, the man lost his life. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because he didn't. It wasn't like a one shot and he dropped and died. It was not that situation. It was a shot, and then they got back in the car and backed away the same way they drove up. So if they could have got him there and got him the medical attention he needed, I strongly feel and know, and I have asked previous doctors and people just to inquire about it. And they say that if they would have got him there on time or in an appropriate manner, they could have saved his life.
And do you know where they went to drop the guns?
I've heard that it was at their mama's house in a deep freezer that was in her backyard. That's what I was told from people that live around that area.
So have you kind of done the math? Do you know like how far out of the way it would have been to the hospital?
Well, it's the opposite direction.
Okay.
If you was going to the hospital, you could have kept going forward, or you could have backed up and turned right. But they went the opposite direction, meaning they went back toward where they came from.
Was it established like what time the incident occurred versus what time they got to the hospital? Like how much time had lapsed?
It was a 30 to 45-minute time lapse. So
And
meanwhile, after this man has been shot, he's sitting there in the car, filling up with blood from the time he's got shot until the time they got him there.
And how long from where the incident occurred, how long would it have taken from there to get to the hospital?
I would say 15 minutes.
15, okay.
12 to 15 minutes at the most.
Right, okay.
But if you're going the opposite direction, of course, it's going to take you longer because you got to go backwards, then you got to come forward again and then go to the hospital.
And this was all over some stupid argument between you and your girlfriend and her brothers being protective of her.
Right. And all of it could have been avoided by simply allowing me to leave. Even though I lived at this house, I still tried to leave just to avoid the whole situation.
Right.
But as I said, they were the pursuers. I didn't pursue them. They pursued me.
Right.
I didn't go toward them. I didn't harass them. They made threatening calls to me. They pursued me. After I left from where they were, they followed me.
The
Made phone calls to follow me.
Did the prosecution raise any sort of issue about gang affiliation in the case?
No, they didn't. They didn't raise any kind of affiliated situations about it. Although that is an enhancement factor. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're coming to talk to someone, you don't take 5 people.
Right.
If you're coming to talk to someone, it doesn't take irrational behavior or erratic driving.
Right.
Everyone that came with this man is his brothers or cousins, some type of family tied gang or affiliation.
Right. I gotcha. Okay. So let's move on to the other incident, to the other issue that we've talked about recently, and that I actually posted about on my Facebook page here not too long ago. Oh, I'm sorry, Sean. Tracy is asking, what year did this happen?
This is 2008.
2008.
Yes, February 3rd, 2008.
Okay, and Tracy had, while you were talking, she had pulled up a thing on the internet talking about Tennessee's Stand Your Ground law that was enacted on July 1st, 2007. And she was wondering, the law, also known as the No Duty to Retreat law, codified the right of individuals to use deadly force in self-defense without first attempting to retreat from the threat. Did this not come up at all in your defense?
It didn't come up at all in my defense. When this came up, when I was fighting my case, all they was telling me was, you're not from here, so they're going to try to make an example out of you. So even though I'm explaining self-defense, and even though if you see the bullet travels in an angle to where it looks like as if somebody was trying to scoop you up and slam you to when they get up on you. Mm-hmm. I even brought all this up. I even brought up every single detail that I just said here. And I've been fighting this ever since I've caught this charge. Mm-hmm. But there was never anyone saying there's a stand your ground law. They were just saying there's no self-defense law. If that would have been brought up, I strongly feel that it would have been a better defense.
Right.
But they was more focused on past history or trying to save the guy that we have found out that is a known informant to the DA's office for some time now.
Gotcha.
Which he has made deals with the DA to avoid being prosecuted or incarcerated.
And this is one of the ones that came after you?
Right. He was the driver of the car.
Is that the older brother?
Yes. He's the driver of the car, Rodney Howard.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Unless you have anything else to add on that, we'll move on to the incident that happened in the prison.
Okay. The incident that happened in the prison, well, it was a unfortunate situation, really. It was pretty much being tricked and ambushed. And the situation that took place was a situation that I'm still not familiar with as far as why it happened or what took place as far as getting stabbed and an officer stating that no one was hurt. But the situation itself, I went to the hospital, another guy went to the hospital, and this officer said that in his report that no one was hurt. This officer lied. He, I don't know what he called himself doing, but there's places in it where it say, was anybody hurt? Was anybody, was there any weapons involved? But it's clearly, if I was hurt and another guy was hurt, then that is something that you put in this report. But
right, should be.
He lied and said it wasn't in the report.
Right.
And I don't quite understand why he would want to hide it or lie about it or anything like that. But that just goes to say that things that happen in prison, it shows that officers will lie or not tell the truth for whatever reasons. Because not only that incident, but other incidents around the state of Tennessee or around the world in prison, officers should be held accountable for if they're lying about any kind of thing that happened. Because just because you're in prison, that don't mean you're not a person or you don't have loved ones that care. It doesn't mean that you can just put anything on paper and that's okay.
Right. So can you describe what happened that day?
Well, all I know is it was pretty much an ambush. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All I know is I walked into a situation and I got stabbed. You know what I mean?
And how many was it that jumped on you?
Multiple people. I can't quite say the exact number, but
it was a lot. It was a lot of people, like
yeah.
4 or 5.
Somewhere in that number.
Okay. And how many times were you stabbed?
44 times.
44 times. And you were sent to the hospital in the prison, right?
Right.
And then your cellmate also got hurt too, right?
Right.
And was he was sent out of the prison for care?
Right.
Was he life flighted or was he just transported?
Transported.
Okay. And then they kept y'all in PC pending investigation?
Right. Anytime something like that goes on, go to avoid any further conflict or to help with medical care or whatever, but
yeah. So the investigation's still ongoing?
Pretty much so. I would say so.
Okay. All right. But you mailed me the report, which I posted on my Facebook page that shows that there was no injuries. So,
Right. And
we
I don't
know,
understand why a officer would lie like that, or what was his purpose, or uh, what was his intention. I mean,
right.
it clearly states what went on. You can see the medical records, or you can see it. You know, I don't understand that part.
And you did file a grievance, right?
Right.
Okay. Did you get your medical records? You got copies of your records showing what all?
They have the medical records on file, but they say I can't have them in person, but I can see them. I can make an appointment to see them, but I can't have them myself.
Okay. I gotcha.
But I've also filed a sick call to see the doctor 3 times, and I still haven't seen the doctor. So I'm not understanding, their process.
Okay. Liz, as you're talking, she's over here pulling stuff up. It says an inmate can request their medical records from hospital, but they must request them through the Tennessee Department of Correction. But it actually is, Tracy, it is the prison where he was stitched up. It's not an outside facility.
Right.
The inmate's status as a ward of the state necessitates going through the official correctional channels for access. Yeah, I'd put in a formal request. I just put in a formal request with TDOC.
Okay.
All right, well, I know you probably about to run out of time, so I'll go ahead and let you go. But does anybody have any questions for Sean while I've got him on the line? We got a few people here still.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. Do you have anything else you want to add, Sean?
Well, I just hope one day that everything is being showed to light, and that the people in similar situations that I'm in finally find something that will help them out as well. Because if they got a standing ground law and all that, it need to be looked at when situations like this occur.
Right.
It shouldn't be just looked to the side, or just because you don't have the legal knowledge or the legal input that you be found guilty, or you get shortcomings because you're not aware of the law. Because there's plenty of people, I would say, around the world that is self-defense, but just because they don't know this or don't know that, they're going to get the hammer dropped on them anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And did you had a court appointed attorney, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay. And you still have appeals left?
Yes, I'm in I got an appeal going now, and I'm waiting on a response back, but I'm pretty sure they'll take their time with a response or anything like that.
Right, right. Okay. All right, Sean. Well, thank you, and I'll be talking to you soon.
All right, thank you too.
All right,
Thank
bye.
y'all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
All right. That was very interesting. It always shocks me. It's such a different world in there. I think I've just learned so much. Even since the Drummond stuff, and then I'm working on the Basham case, and this is really it's crazy because this is really the first time that I've had well, I'm not working the Drummond case, but
Right,
I
yeah.
have a little bit interest on them. Just want to clarify,
Yeah.
don't come after me. I'm not working that case.
Oh, Lord.
But I am working Basham, and and for a little bit it seemed like the Drummond case and the Basham case, like it just because it was both involving the same prison, that they were kind of bleeding into each other just a little bit. And just learning that, I mean, who would have ever? I thought that was just in the movies, like hits coming from the prison and all this stuff, and it's real. And then to have the former sergeant from Northwest that I interviewed, who actually told me out of his own mouth that when in trouble with an inmate that's gang affiliated, and they will literally go to the head of that gang when they're having trouble with that inmate, and they'll leave it to their leader, to the head of that gang, to kind of get them in check.
It's kind
They'll
of
go
like
to the head of the.
it's kind of like a general. The
Yeah, I mean, it's
general
like
has all his
they.
little armies, and
Right. And so, when people say that the gangs run the prison, that's not a lie. And not only do they run the prison, but a lot of times their world bleeds into ours.
and you know how many times I have heard where an inmate is taking classes to be a lawyer. Now we know why. Because just
And you know what? There are some good jailhouse lawyers too. Because I mean they don't that's all they got to do.
I think that's what he needs to do. He needs to get
Yeah.
in there and start taking classes. Not that he needs to become a lawyer, but he needs to
Hmm.
start taking classes. Because if I sat here for 10 minutes while he was talking and found two things that really could help in both of his instances, the original and then the report,
Right.
then then he would be able to big time because he has it all in his head. Um,
Right. Right.
but I think it's terrible. But I think every person in prison that can, I mean, some are not intellectually able to, but they should take law classes.
I think Sean would be. You can tell just by
Excellent.
listening to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's very
Knowledge, well,
he's calm, he's well put together, he communicates well.
and he's
Um
thinking as he's speaking.
right. He's not unintelligent by any means.
No, I
Um
think he should. I think he should take. Because just that little bit of time, can you imagine how much would be wrong with his case? Um, if I wonder if he still hasn't satisfied his appeals, is Freedom of Information Act okay to get from him? Can you get the court records?
um I think I think I have them. I told you I've been working. I started working on his case like 4.5 years ago. I believe I've got a whole file on
Do
him. I
you
believe
have?
I've got
Yeah,
his
but are
court
those
records.
files hard case files that you never got back from Dyer County?
No, no, no. I have the digital
Electronic?
files. Yeah, I've got the digital files. So I've got his court files, but I think I mean, it's just another one of those cases where he just kind of got pushed through the system. It really wasn't. I don't know his attorney. I don't want to speak ill of his attorney, but I don't think that, in a lot of these cases, they just kind of push them through. They don't, and there may have been some. I mean, I asked him if the judge had brought up gang affiliation, and I don't want to get too much into that, but I do believe that there was some the gang aspect was there with the brothers and him, and there was some stuff there as well.
Well, no matter
So
what, gang, even if you have 5 gang members and there's one gang member standing on the street, 5 against 1 in a vehicle coming to your place, it still stands
oh
your
yeah.
ground.
Well, and that's the thing. This incident, even though there may have been some gang affiliation going on there, this particular incident wasn't really about that. It was about him and his girlfriend got into it. that's her brothers. They stood up for her. He was just trying to leave, but
They kind of make it like a drunk driving accident. If a drunk driver is hit by someone else and it's the other person's total screw up, that person is going to be charged with the accident because they automatically have a blood alcohol level that was illegal to drive.
right.
And even though they didn't, it's not
Hmm.
their fault. That's
Yeah.
how they seem to do with gang members. It's like, okay,
Well,
you're
and
automatically at fault because you're a gang member, and that's not right.
right. And I mean, I've seen this so many times where, you know, I think like when the prosecution has an opportunity to send somebody away, they just kind of
Get
push it,
them
like
off
I
the
said, push
street.
it through
We're
and
just
get
getting
them.
them off
Yeah,
the
they
street.
just, yeah. And in this case, I mean, I think that, I mean, maybe a wrongful death suit or something, but like there's liability there on behalf of the other individuals in the car that were refusing to take him to the hospital until they dumped off their weapons so that they wouldn't get in trouble.
I would like to see, to know about the weapon Sean had. That may be the whole thing. That
Why
could
is that?
that could be, maybe it was an illegal gun. Maybe it
Maybe,
wasn't registered. Maybe it was a stolen gun. And maybe that's why they kept adding
no,
guns.
I mean that would have been, if that was the case, that would have been one of the charges.
I got you.
So no, I don't think that was the case at all. But I mean, he did admit that he was on parole.
There
He
you
was on
go. Shouldn't
parole,
have had a
and
gun. Yeah. That
he was on parole, and the other guy was also supposedly on parole. So neither one of them should have had guns,
well, the other one wasn't proven to have a gun though.
right? Because they got rid of it 1st.
Yeah. So
But
there's your stand your ground right there. He wasn't allowed to have a weapon.
right, so that's why they wouldn't have used that. That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, I don't know. So I guess the only way he would have come out of that would have just been to let them kill him. I mean, they came after him, 5 of them with weapons, and if he hadn't had a gun and shot them, he'd be dead. He'd be dead right now. I can't hear you, baby.
That's because I turned my mute on before I talked.
Yeah.
Um, so, man, I had a smart thought for a second. Um, that the other people did not fire because there would have been bullets and possibly not all guns leave, um, but they do leave bullets somewhere. And
Right.
they could not find any of that, or they did not look for any of that. And
Right. Right. I think that's more like it. Like they didn't treat it like that.
because it's
That's not what they
surprising that
did.
out of 5 people, depending on how many guns there were, that they didn't fire back and hit him.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Especially after he fired and hit the other guy. Yeah, that is a good point. But I do know he's telling the truth though, because
Oh yeah, I
yeah,
can say
because I've
that.
gotten the statement from his girlfriend, and even though she's too scared to like tell it on a stand or like go to the police and
And he never
clear
said
things up.
they didn't return fire. And maybe the fact that he was his the brother was hit, they just got the heck out of there.
Right.
But being that they're gang, I'm kind of it's like it makes you think they would fire, but they're just getting out of there. They go hide guns is kind of like uh you know.
But she, you know, she is the person that holds the key to getting him out of there.
Now, is it his current girlfriend or was that his girlfriend?
No, no, they're not. They're broken up. I know, you know, when I talked to her, she was. I think she was upset because he hadn't been talking to her, hadn't been calling her or whatever, and she kind of felt like, oh yeah, he sends you over here, wants me to help him, but he's not talking to me, and so I think, you know, she's a little hurt maybe over that. Um, I don't know. You know, a little bit of, you know, lovers thing going on there because it's like, you know, if he still was like, oh baby, I love you, you know, whatever, then maybe she'd be more inclined to try to help him, but
There's
he's
a
not.
there's some there's some issues that he could have used, or things that could have been used, but there's some things stopping that defense. So there's
Right.
several defenses it seems like that could have been used, but there's things blocking being able to use that defense. And if he was able to use them, then I think he would not be where he is.
Well, and I think that at this point, you know, and this is often the case, but at this point, the only thing that's really going to help him is new evidence, is new information.
Is
Um,
well as are the guns, but do you have to match them up ballistically? You have to ballistic, and there are no ballistic because this happened in
yeah,
2008.
I mean, and yeah, right. And at this point, like finding the guns or whatever, like that's not going to happen. That is absolutely not going to happen.
Those were already
Um,
sold or traded.
right. Yeah. But so let's, since we're here, why don't we you want to talk some more about some of the stuff that we've been putting out and
Yes, I'm going to talk about all that stuff we have been putting out that I didn't even know existed.
that you've never even seen. Right. All
Yeah.
right.
I
I'm gonna
did
give
not
you
watch them. I couldn't. I could not listen. Oh, God. Okay, everybody. Now you're getting ready to see what Heather has to deal with. I get so irritated by certain people's voices. There are a couple people's voices that really
well,
irritate me.
poor Tracy, because you know I go out and I'll do the interviews and you know these 2 hour long conversations. I'll send it over to Tracy, be like, transcribe this for me.
15
Could you
minutes for 1 minute.
will you please
However,
transcribe this for me?
I refuse, since we took that class with Mark McClish, where every space, break is important. It's extremely important. That's why
Yeah.
you can't just hire one of these companies that transcribe because they don't
Right.
realize how important the but is. And I'll tell you what, someone who talks fast and you have to repeat it. One time it was a sentence and it took me 15 minutes to figure out what was being said. And that's on Daryl's. Daryl's is horrible. It's just, oh my God. Darren on the TBI tape, um, on that audio, if anybody's ever heard it, where he's discussing Dina not showing up at the sting operation with Sam
Oh yeah, that's
Kelly
the
and
Mark
Mark Morgan
Morgan, the
and Sam
extortion
Kelly.
sting.
Yep. And if you listen to that in the very beginning, there was a hot mic. Well, everybody was all into what was being said once it all started. They didn't weren't interested in the hot mic moment. They just fast forwarded. The hot mic moment told the whole story. It told me exactly who did what. And so it was important. Oh my God. To have Darren and Daryl on the same audio just about did my butt in. Is like, I can't listen to it anymore. I can't.
It's painful. It is so painful. And it's like, so when, whenever Robin sent the audio over to me, and she didn't know who it was, but when she sent that audio to me, just wanting to know if I recognized the voice of that call over to Dyer County Sheriff's Office, oh, do I know that voice? I know that voice well,
Yes.
because we have over the years, between, I mean,
You've transcribed some too, so I know you've listened to it. And she's called me and said, I can't do it. I can't do it. You've got to do it. It's like, okay, okay.
it's painful. It really is. But so yeah, so let's talk about here. Why don't I'll pull up let's pull up some of these interviews and watch them. I'll put them on the screen and we'll watch them. Oh, God, please no. Please, God, no. No, seriously, I'm gonna put and this might be good. Some of the people that might be on here right now that aren't subscribers on Facebook, that don't actually have, can't watch it, or for whatever reason can't
Oh
subscribe.
yeah, this will be
So
great.
this will be great. Hold on one second. Let me pull this up. It'll take me a couple minutes to get my Dropbox up.
What? You do
What
not.
what?
You do not
Do not what?
have a Dropbox.
I shared, that's where my discovery is. That's where the discovery was
Is
sent to
it the
me.
same as you used to have?
I mean, now I've downloaded most of it,
But some of the
but
stuff that you shared with me on Dropbox, I can't get to because you didn't have a Dropbox anymore. But that might
yeah,
come back.
I've just recently kind of started it back up because
I've been begging you
people,
to. I've been begging,
well,
begging,
people have
begging.
been sending me stuff through Dropbox.
You are just like my husband. Doesn't matter
I'm
what
just like
Tracy.
your husband.
It doesn't
Did you
matter
just
what
compare
Tracy.
me to Steve?
It doesn't matter what Tracy wants. It matters what other people want.
Just compare me to Steve. Oh my Lord.
He's like, my aunt called to take us to lunch, and because it was my aunt, he goes, well, she's more important than football. What about me,
Okay,
buddy?
what do you want to watch first? Okay, you know what? I know. All right, so let's pull this up. I'm gonna pull up Daryl Sells's interview first, if I can find it. Oh my God, there's a lot to go through here. Hold on, and it's all backwards. Instead of A to
You can
instead
change
of A
that.
to Z, it's Z to A.
You
Here
can
we go.
change it. Just ask somebody else. He'll tell you how to do Dropbox.
Say what?
I'm not mentioning that name either.
Okay, I'm gonna share the screen now.
I can't
Okay,
wait. I'm turning my
entire
mic off.
screen. All right, here we go. And play. All right, so you can hear me, right?
Yes, I just muted my mic.
Okay, because I'm gonna like point out things from time to time when, from statement analysis.
Who is this guy?
Uh, is that Rick Gregory? I think it's Rick Gregory. He's young there though. There's Calvin Johnson.
Yes,
Yeah, that's Calvin Johnson.
he's passed.
They're both deceased now.
Oh, that's right.
Gonna be painless.
No, it's not. It's going to hurt. I can't hear them.
Can't hear him?
No.
Miss on topics. Is that better?
No. It's not coming on at all. I can't hear them at all.
Can't hear them at all? Okay, well, scratch that then. So you can see it, but you can't hear it, Tracy?
Correct.
Did you could just see their mouths moving, but you couldn't hear it?
And you see his hands going up, but I couldn't hear it.
Well, shoot. Well, that sucks. All
Oh,
right,
darn
well,
it, man. But you can
darn
upload those.
it.
You can
Oh, shucks.
you can upload those separately.
What do you mean?
You can upload those like as a to our YouTube.
Oh, right, to the media. Yeah. That's gonna take too long to do right now, though. That's okay.
No, right. I
But
understand, but selfishly, I don't really care what our listeners want. just I'm just saying that so I don't have to hear his
that's
voice.
that's rude.
It is rude. I just don't want to hear his voice.
Well, we'll just since I can't actually play it, we'll just talk about it. Um, One of the things that I noticed with Daryl's interview was that they would ask him a question and he wouldn't exactly answer the question. You know,
He has his
like
own
at one
agenda.
like at one point Rick Gregory asks him if Dina had talked to him about anything that had happened at the party that maybe didn't sit well with her or whatever. And he goes into, well, I don't think she recognized Karen. I don't, Karen, she didn't run in any of the circles with Dina's friends. She didn't really, and it's like, he asked him, the question was whether Dina had talked to him about anything that had happened at the party that didn't sit well with her. And instead of answering that question, he goes into an explanation of how Dina didn't know Karen.
And the problem is they didn't hold him to the question. They did not hold his feet to the
Yeah.
fire. They allowed him to wander off into wherever he was going.
Right. They just allowed him to conduct his own interview.
Which is apparent, but we knew these interviews had to have existed because when he was on the phone with you, and I know this because I transcribed it, but when he was on the phone with you, he said, "You don't think my whole
that
family,
we've talked to the sheriff's
the sheriff's
department.
department, you don't think our whole family's been up there to the sheriff's department?" Don't quote
Right.
me, but that's pretty close to what he said.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
So,
knew
I mean,
these
it's
interviews did happen, but I don't see all of them. Was
right.
was was Bentley in any of them or Darren?
Darren, no. I don't think Darren was ever questioned. Um, to this day, I don't believe he's ever been questioned by anybody. Um,
He probably
but
refused.
Bentley, yeah, no, I refuse. I mean, man, they didn't even. They were just like, even in Daryl's interview, the first thing they said, "This is going to be painless." Did have have you read that mess on topics? Yeah, we just have to, we have to talk to you just to, because we don't want a defense attorney to be able to come back and say, oh, well, you didn't even talk to them. So we're just talking to you to just, be able to cover our butts and say that we talked to you,
Exactly.
and
That's why they
they're just,
waited so long. That's why they waited almost a year to bring them down.
yeah, I mean, I
August of
don't,
2012, when she
right,
died in October of 2011. That's 10
right,
months that they had to get their story straight.
right. And, Daryl really got ahead of it when they said, when they asked him if he had ever met Karen Swift, and Daryl says, "I know where this came from. This came from that internet, that topics." He's like, "Yeah." And then he says, and then he immediately goes into talking about how he made the mistake of, because he was curious and he just wanted to see where she'd been laying all that time. And he made the mistake to go down there to the cemetery. And that's how all this got started. So, but let's shift to the stuff with John Hogshooter and Bronwyn for a minute. Because
Okay. Can I
that's interesting.
now I want to say a few things about this. Of course, there's things
Lady.
you read in the paper in the very beginning, but I want to say who said that this person that Bronwyn showed up at their house. Told me that she was so scared. She says, I was so scared.
Yeah.
Bronwyn showed up at my house. She was friends with my husband from a long time ago, but Bronwyn showed up at my house, and we found out that they were friends a long time ago. And that is Chastity Brandon, who worked
Right. Well,
at.
I knew that her and Bronwyn went way, way, way back. As a matter of fact,
But she
there was
gave
a
an
whole
excuse as to
there, but there
why.
was there was there was a whole thing about when Chastity Brandon was married to Drew Smith. Um,
Wasn't that
you
her
know,
first husband?
no, no, that was her.
I thought that was her first.
No, more. She was married to Smith more. I don't even know. She's all over the place. She was married it, a couple times before Drew, I believe. But anyways, I can't keep track. I don't know. I can't even keep track of my own marriages.
I
Come
know.
on. But no, seriously. So back to what I was saying.
You are serious.
That Drew had been staying with his mother because he had to have somebody to vouch for him where he was at all times, because according to him, she would call, they had this restraining order, and she would call the cops and tell the cops that he had just shown up to her house and all this and that. And there was an incident where he was actually in, I believe, I want to say Indiana at a wedding. And he gets a call from his mom, and his mom says, "Son, where are you at?" And he said, "I'm at a wedding in Indiana." "Why? I told you I was leaving." And she says, "Because the sheriff's department just showed up here with a warrant for your arrest, that you went over to Chastity, you just beat the crap out of her." And he said, "Mom, I'm not even there. I'm in Indiana. I'm out of state." And so when he got back from Indiana, he had to go to the sheriff's department and turn himself in. And then he was told when he got there, because he told him, he said, "I wasn't even in town. I was at a wedding in Indiana." And so they told him at that time, "Well, make sure you've got witnesses, you got people to get, because, we have to arrest you because there's a warrant for your arrest, but, just have your witnesses ready when we go to trial." So they go to trial. Long story short, they get there, and Bronwyn Hogshooter is Chastity's witness.
And
that
this is according to
according to
Drew, that you and I were
Yes.
both there. We heard him talk about it. It was a face-to-face interview.
right?
And
He said,
and this is allegedly. This is
Allegedly.
according to Drew.
Well, allegedly, according to Drew, they go to trial and he's got his witnesses there to testify for him that he was at this wedding, that they saw him at this wedding. And Bronwyn is there to testify that she saw him at Chastity's and she was there and witnessed him beating the crap out of her while he's supposed to be at this wedding. Well, so then one of Drew's witnesses, while on the stand, allegedly, says, "Your Honor, may I speak? Am I free to speak?" And he says, "Yes." And she says, "Well, we're just back in that, witness room," because none of the witnesses were allowed in the gallery at the time, And so all the witnesses were, and she says, and I overheard, she didn't know who Bronwyn was, but she had overheard Bronwyn telling Chastity that she was worried about lying on the stand. She was worried they were going to get caught. So at that time, according to Drew, the judge calls everybody back to the chambers and they come back out and they drop the charges.
Now
why?
This was before anybody found out about what Bronwyn said between her and John. This is before all that. Nobody knew that they were together talking, and it could be, is it the truth of what she said about what her and John did? And it's not like somebody came up with this Bronwyn lied on the stand scenario before.
I think that the vibe I get from Bronwyn, and that was the first time that, watching her interview with the police, that's the first time I've heard her voice. That's the first time I've seen her. Now, I've been hearing her name for years, but that's the first time I've ever actually seen her or heard her voice. And the vibe I get from her that she puts off is really just, I think she's the type of person, the type of friend, the type of wife, the type of person who would lie for somebody, would take up for somebody, would protect somebody. She gives off a very, and I mean, this is, I have very little to go off of, but my opinion, my vibe that I got from her is that she may be a bit of an enabler. You hear her in her interview, she's talking about how, I got upset with John because, he was in this Christian chat and he posted a picture of himself and then all these women are like, wanting to meet up with him, wanting to talk to him and blah, blah, blah. And then she says, and I jumped to conclusions and I got upset and this and that. Well, I think that she was selling herself short. I think that it's very obvious from that he was, looking to hook up with or meet other women. And then she puts it on herself. Well, I jumped to conclusions and I this and that and whatever. What I got from her, just from what little bit that she's talking, and she's all over the place and she's just, and I don't think it was that so much that she was confused or that her memory was failing her. She wasn't sure. I think she was really trying to be careful not to say anything that was going to contradict her husband. And so when the detective later comes back and says, well, John says that you were home watching movies with him that night. Then she's like, oh yeah. I think I was. And it just tells me about her is that whatever her friend Chastity says happened or whatever her husband John says happened, she's going to go along with it. That's her loyalty to them.
Plus,
And
she's one of these witnesses that is terrified for the truth to be out there because she's afraid.
I just think she's being protective of her husband. She's being protective of her friend.
I think she's scared
And
of what's going to happen to her if she doesn't go along with it. And she's being pressured to do it because they know she will.
I think she'd go along with it anyway. I don't think that, when she got on that stand and was saying that she saw um Drew beating up Chastity. I don't think she did that because she was scared of Chastity or scared that Chastity, well, I mean, maybe she was, but I don't think that's the case. I just think that's the type of friend she is. I think she'll just say what you tell her to say. But so then let's talk about how this would possibly, if John Hogshooter had something to hide, maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but there are a lot of people, particularly the jurors from David Swift's trial, there are a lot of people who still really feel that John Hogshooter had something to do with Karen's disappearance. Well, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. There are certainly things to consider. There are, and I do find it really interesting that he actually was one of the prosecution's witnesses and that he testified, and he testified that he smelled industrial strength bleach coming from David Swift's home. Now, the kids who were there pretty quickly after they found out their mom was missing, the boys that came from college, they didn't smell bleach. The officer even testifies that he didn't smell bleach. Nobody smells bleach.
More than just
but John Hawkshooter. Huh?
Yeah, more than just an officer. They tried to say, did he say industrial?
He said industrial.
Okay.
Yeah, he said strong,
so if
strong
it went
bleach.
that far, if bleach went that far, and it's industrial, the officers, more than one, the TBI, when she was missing, would have come across.
Nobody else smelled bleach.
And everybody's taking pictures of these gallon jugs of Clorox bleach that is not industrial. It's household Clorox bottles that they used for the pool. And those bottles were around the pool. Were they not? Were they around near where the pool was?
They were in the backyard. Mm-hmm.
So, and the fact that they're the kind you and I have, which we know when we have that kind of Clorox bleach, it does not burn your lungs or take the breath away.
Well, and if those bottles of bleach were used for something nefarious, then you think he would have been smart enough to get rid of them and do something with them.
It's not industrial. Household bleach is not even close to the same as industrial bleach.
Industrial. Mm-hmm.
Not even
True.
close.
But so back to what I was saying about John Hogshooter. Somebody said when I was posting the stuff with John and Bronwyn, and just it's extremely conspicuous that their stories didn't line up, and that Bronwyn was so nervous, and then she went back and changed her story, and she just couldn't seem to, and it makes sense because John was actually incarcerated at the time, so there was really no way for them to, discuss what they were going to say ahead of time. There was no way for them to, get their story straight. So, it makes sense that she wasn't sure what she was supposed to say. But it was very conspicuous. Well, back to Chastity Brandon, and isn't it just interesting? Isn't it just wild how everything just seems to circle back around? Everything just seems to connect somehow. And, you've got Chastity's first call to me ever, where she's literally telling me that John Hogshooter worked with her and Dina at McDonald's, and that he was Daryl Sells's right hand man, that he would send him off to.
Are you going to continue? Or am I cutting you off?
Go ahead.
She also said that John and Dina dated.
She said John was, I don't know if she said they dated. She said John was
anything for Dina, I guess.
John was in love with Dina, that they were really close. They were good friends, and that he would do anything for her, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So he says that. Then you've got the call to Dyer County Sheriff's Office that everybody that I know seems to agree that that is Daryl Sells, except for, of course, Daryl and Dina and Darren and them. And yeah, I mean, even Danny Goodman believes that it's him.
Well, it's not.
The entire grand jury
when I went before Swift.
Well, it's definitely not David Swift, but even the grand jury, when I played it for the grand jury, they all agreed that it was him, except for David Bradshaw, who challenged it. I'm sorry, not David Bradshaw, Walt Bradshaw. But anyways, then you got that call to the Dyer County Sheriff's Office, and he says, left at John B. Hogshooter's. So it's like everything just kind of like circles back around, and it makes you wonder. It really makes you wonder, and I remember having conversations with Robin over at Daniel Taylor's office, because they really felt strongly that John Hogshooter was involved in Karen's disappearance. That was kind of their focus. And I remember saying, even if John was involved, that doesn't mean that Daryl, it doesn't rule out the Sells theory.
Also, where were her items found?
Right. And I've also thought, well,
tell everyone.
Her cell phones were found very close to John Hogshooter's, if not on his property, right by his property.
So if he wasn't a part of it, he was being set up.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was getting ready to say, is that I also, was somebody trying to make it look like David Swift did it, or was somebody trying to make it look like John Hogshooter did it?
That's exactly what they were doing, because they said John Hogshooter's. The person said, you'll find her body this far. She goes, from where? And he goes, John B. Hogshooter's. And then the stuff was found right there. Her car was found not far from his house. And
right.
I mean, it's close to where she is too, but it was more or less in his backyard.
Right,
so
but
I believe he was either set up or he was part of it. But if he was part of it, he wouldn't set himself up. He would not set himself up. I mean,
that's true. It doesn't make sense. I mean, if he did have something to do with killing her, it doesn't make sense that he would put the evidence right there on his own property.
Exactly.
But I mean, but that's assuming that he's intelligent, which I don't know if we can assume that.
I think he's intelligent. Hey, when you're a 2-year-old and you steal a cookie, you at least eat the cookie to make it look like you don't have it. You're not eating the cookie at the same time your mom says, you're shove it in your mouth real fast. So hiding evidence is, you don't throw it on your property.
It doesn't make sense. But I've always said, if John Hogshooter was involved somehow, I still believe that the connection to Sells is relevant, and it doesn't rule out and if he was involved somehow, could he have been doing it for somebody else? Could he have been maybe involved in snatching her up? I find it interesting that, Bronwyn Hogshoer talks about Karen Swift walking. She would see her walking between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. past their house often. And she said she would speed walk, she'd
Right.
fast walk.
She taught silver sneakers at the
Right. But
Right.
but
Karen
she
was
but
a
she talked about her walking.
instructor.
I'm bringing this up specifically to reiterate the time frame, 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. They would often see her walking in front of the house between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. So that means if Bronwyn knew that and John knew that, then that means that somebody would have had an idea of about what time, if somebody wanted her snatched up, somebody would have known about what time that she likes to go for her walks or that she leaves the house.
Now, as somebody, I have done many office things. I have a degree in business, and I've worked in many, many, many offices and written many, many, many checks.
How
And
many?
many, many, many,
Many, many, many,
many,
many.
many, 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 many. And and when you sign a check, you sign how their name is put down. And the fact that on that 911 call, we say it's a 911 call, but it's an actual emergency call to the sheriff's department. But they, he says John B as in boy,
John B. Hogshooter.
shooter, which is how you would write a check. So in
I
my,
mean, maybe,
oh, no,
but
no, no.
but it's definitely got to be somebody that knows John Hogshooter well enough to know his middle initial.
Right. And why would you just say his middle initial? Oh, that's John B. Hogshooter. You'd say that's John Hogshooter. You
Right.
wouldn't say John B. unless you had signed it on legal paperwork, which legal tender is a check.
I
It
mean, you know
is,
him well enough to know his middle initial.
and no, yeah, exactly. And be used to it, used to saying it and seeing it to say it. Especially in a stressful situation like an emergency call. Here you're in a
Right.
stressful situation and you know where this woman's buried and you're going, you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Yeah, John B. Hogshooter. That's
I mean,
crazy.
and here's the thing. There's these questions, there's these lingering questions that need to be answered. And, it's like I said in my post. Was I barking up the wrong tree? Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. But regardless, whether I was or wasn't, there are questions that need to be answered. They are: one, why was Daryl Sells calling the Dyer County Sheriff's Office? Why did he know the vicinity of where she was that day, or where her remains were? Two, why does Dina say that she doesn't know Karen Swift when so many people seem to know that she did, and that there's the original statement from Kathy Bona saying that they had just gotten back from Dina's birthday party.
And there was a picture of them together.
And there's pictures of them on the dance floor. There's the picture at the farms that is heavily disputed, but we know what we know. And then another question: where the hell was Bentley? Because I'll be damned if I'm just going to accept that he was at home when nobody can vouch that he was at home, and the people that were at the house didn't seem to know he was there. Why is that sufficient for the Dyer County Sheriff's Office? Why is that a sufficient alibi when they clearly, when they want answers, when they really want to interrogate somebody, when they really feel the need for an alibi. They've shown with John Hogshooter and Bronwyn that they know how to ask questions. They know how to ask for somebody about they. It's like
I have
it's
a
very evident. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I just
It's
wanted to
very
clarify
evident
something.
when you watch their interviews with Bentley and Dina and Daryl Sells, and then you watch their interviews with Ricky Sipes and John Hogshooter, and it's the favor is so blatant. The way that they're leading, the way that they're controlling the
technique.
narrative, the way that they're just it's so obvious, it's so painfully obvious that it was a biased investigation, that they just were not interested at all in truly investigating
Anything
the
other
cells
than their
or the
narrative did not work for them. And I
right.
want to clarify something. You were not told, it was not stated anywhere that you were barking up the wrong tree. It was stated that you were barking up trees you shouldn't be barking up.
Now, that was in a conversation with Glenn Cook. And you know what's funny
Two
about you were on that
conversations.
call.
Yeah, there
You
were
were
two.
on that.
And there was someone else that said it, that called into us. And we got she said somebody told her that. So
Right,
it's been
right.
said
Yeah, I
twice
know you.
that you were barking up trees you should not be barking up. They never said the wrong tree.
I know who you're talking. That was Becca, wasn't it? I think.
Mhm.
Oh, Becca said that. Becca told me that too. But
It was the same person that said that Dina played softball and she could hit a bat like a man. I mean, a ball like a
Chastity.
man.
That was Chastity. Chastity said that Dina swung a bat like a man. Well, she did. I mean, maybe somebody else said it too, but anyway, all right. Yeah, a lot of people said a lot of things. But I find it interesting that, when I got the file, when I got the Dyer County Sheriff's Office, when I got their interviews and stuff, there was a file with my name on it too, of course. And I found it
Sorry
interesting.
why I laugh.
I found it interesting that I think there was only one conversation in there between Glenn Cook and I. And the ones where he's telling me he's threatening me with obstruction charges. He's telling me he caught me lying. He's telling me I'm barking up the wrong tree. All that, or barking up. Yeah, he said barking up the wrong tree. But when he says that, those things, that's not in there. None of that is in there. So
Yeah, you were on the phone with him a lot. He befriended you to a certain extent. Um, and there were a lot of friendly conversations. And he told you to be quiet, that if you were just quiet, everything would go away. What kind of investigator tells somebody to be quiet and everything will go away? So all those witnesses who have said they said the same thing, we believe because he
I
told them
also,
just to be
I
quiet.
also, I also remember when I told him that I was going to keep pursuing it, and because that's how I am, and I said I hope it doesn't lead to my demise, and he said I hope not too. I remember that as well.
Also, if you notice, he did not show up as a witness. They had planned on putting you on the stand, trying to get you to say you were lying, but none of your stuff that you had lied about. And that's
You know
why
what's
they cut
funny?
all that stuff. And then he could be discredited, so there's no way they wanted him on the stand either.
You know what's funny? I thought that so I was listening to all of, I've been going back over everything. And I think it was yesterday or the day before, I was listening to when Daniel Taylor interviewed Kevin Butler. And Kevin tells him that I put him on a three-way call with Danny Goodman. Kevin tells him that he had called into the sheriff's department after, that day after he had driven past the car. And, he tells him all this. At the end of the call, and this is at the very beginning before Robin really got in, the paralegal really got into the discovery and everything. At the end of the call, Robin says, and I'll tell you in a minute, my feelings were hurt for a minute because Robin says that she says I don't believe any of it. She said I don't believe that he ever talked to Danny Goodman because Danny didn't put anything about Kevin in the file. There was nothing in the file about Kevin talking to Danny.
Exactly.
There was nothing in the file about Kevin talking to Danny. There was nothing in the file about Kevin talking to, giving a report when they came to his house. None of that was in the file. And so Robin's like, I don't believe him. And he's probably just, a meth head or whatever. And she says, nothing that Cohen has said has panned out to be true. And she says it's just a big waste of time. And my feelings were hurt, and I called her. And I said, I got to tell you something. I said, my feelings were hurt today. I said, because I heard, at the end of the Kevin Butler interview, I hear you saying, and she says, that was before I got into everything and I realized you were telling the truth. She said, but you got the last laugh, didn't you? Because everything you said turned out to be true. And she ended up finding they didn't put, there was no report in there of Kevin Butler calling the sheriff's department or talking to them, but there was the handwritten notes from the dispatch. That was the only sign of Kevin Butler ever contacting them that was in that file. And then also later, I provided the audio of the three-way call with Danny, so they got to hear that too. So that was also true. And also the thing about Kevin Butler was his story never changed. His story was exactly the same from the very first time that he called in, the handwritten notes from dispatch of what he told them that day, what he told me, and then what he told Daniel Taylor. His story never changed. It was always the same, that him and his son were going hunting. They drove past Karen's car. There was a dark truck, a black truck, parked at a 45-degree angle. There was a tall man standing outside of the vehicle, leaning on the vehicle, that he slowed way down, that they locked eyes, that he saw him, that he called the sheriff's department. His story remained the same till the day he died.
Now, so everybody knows who's listening for this for the first time. This is a course on the Karen Swift case.
Which we ended up rolling into after, because we talked about one of my clients in the prison earlier, but we rolled into it.
And Kevin Butler is since deceased, as is Rick Gregory, as is Calvin Johnson,
as is Brandy Fagan, as is Ricky Sipes, as is Patrick Spoon.
Kevin Butler had witnessed something, and
Kenny Gibbons. Sorry.
I know.
I could go on and on.
It's a long list. I'm worried. I thought, oh Lord, I got snake bit too, because this case is snake bit. The fact that his son did get on the stand and testify to what he and his dad saw. However,
and he had death threats. He was getting death threats.
And everybody that's a witness does. And the fact that if saying that we're chickens and we're going to have our head cut off, is and turned into chicken nuggets as a threat, then we were threatened too.
Oh, I've been more threatened.
I know.
My head was gonna be bashed in
Yeah, that's right. That's true. I heard that one. And he said that on the end of the TV, though, on the special that you were on.
on the Dateline. You know that's been taken down.
I've been, really, I don't watch it.
No, they pulled it. They pulled the Dateline episode. I've talked to them since then, and they said that they pulled it because it was incorrect, since the charges have since been dropped, the manslaughter charges have been dropped, and so they're going to do an update later. But yeah, they pulled that episode. I can't hear you.
They still have it's just the trailer.
Right. The full episode has been pulled though.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. You're muted again. Quit muting yourself.
Well, some people don't shut the door when they use the potty, and we don't want to hear any of that, do we?
Well, I think we heard it on Sean's call earlier too. I don't know if you heard that. The toilet was
No, I
flushing behind him.
didn't. All I heard when I texted him, all I got back was oops.
Oh,
Oops.
yeah.
But so yeah, Kevin Butler also stated that the TBI came out there, and then the sheriff's department was called. So there was Kevin, the TBI, and the sheriff. And
Right.
he was talking to the TBI, and he said, "Well, I called in," and the TBI turned around and looked at Box and said, "What? You called in?"
Yeah, that's what Kevin said. Yeah, that he did say that. That his exact words, they got on his ass for not. But the thing about that was it doesn't really make sense because the TBI was never the lead on that case. They
Well,
were
this
only
is when she was missing. This was when she was still missing and not found.
Well, no, when they went and talked to him, it was after she'd been found. It was a couple months later.
Yeah, I don't know the
So
date that the TBI and that showed up, but I know that
he said it was a couple months later. It's getting dark in here. I need to turn on the light. Hold
you
on.
need to see my sunset. These are sunset lights. It gets green and tanned. I have them sticking on here, and I got them at Five Below, and they're cheaper than a ring light. So that's what I have to light up this beauty.
Is that a little bit better?
Beauty. Yeah, it's much better, but
Okay, good.
you still need your greenish, purpley swamp lights like I have, so that you can look like a swamp creature.
Oh, you don't look like a swamp creature, you silly woman. But yeah, for those of you who are subscribers on the Facebook page, I really encourage you to just, go over everything and develop your own opinions.
We love your own opinions and your own theories. Now, just so
Everybody
knows,
should be free thinkers. Make your own decisions. Don't just subscribe to my opinion or my theories
you notice we don't. The two of us do not necessarily. Sometimes we come to the same we mostly come to the same conclusion, because if I don't, Heather won't let me do a podcast. So if I don't agree with her.
Shut up! You are such a liar. Look, she even rubbed her nose when she said that. That's a sign. That's a sign. That's one of the statement analysis things when somebody rubs their nose. Remember that when you do watch the interviews, that when somebody rubs their chin or rubs their nose.
I do that all the time to hide mine.
Yeah.
Oh, like what? Yeah.
Yeah,
Hi.
remember that. Remember that.
But yes. So yeah, we if if discussion cannot, it'll spark memories or brain things. However, do not get into our inbox and ask if we've been to the FBI or the
Silly.
TBI. Believe it or not, after doing this long, Heather and I are intelligent enough to have gone over the heads of local law
Doesn't
enforcement.
really get us anywhere though, does it?
No, but we have gone there. Believe me. And if they haven't taken it up, that means that they haven't, it's not that we haven't asked multiple times. Whatever that means, multiple, 2, 4, I don't know. More than that, but
Yeah. True story. True story. All right. Well,
it's
I
almost
hit the
2 hours.
ground. I gotta hit the ground running tomorrow. Um, got back to work on the Basham case or the Bertie Terry murder case, and
But not for Bertie Terry. Um,
well, I mean, I'm trying to solve the case. I'm trying to solve the
right,
Bertie
I
Terry murder
understand,
case.
but we are not, there's not a contract between the family of Bertie Terry or
No,
Justice Warriors.
no,
That's all I'm saying.
that's correct. No, no, and
I don't state who, but I state who not.
well, you know, there's something to be admired about them, that their family. You know, it's it's something to be admired, to be envied. Their closeness, the way they stick together. You know, I appreciate that.
I do too.
Um,
And I understand their need to, they're worried that somebody that's guilty is going to get let out. That is their
well,
worry.
I mean, and I also it's it's hard for me. You know, obviously it's hard to relate with some of, because you know, I think, well, if I was in that situation, I would want to make sure that the whole truth is known, that the right people have been held accountable, that um
But they
you
trust
know,
the
but
DA.
at this, but at the same time, you know, like, I also understand that, you know, it's got to be very emotionally taxing to go through a trial, and
Oh my
for
God.
them to, you know, the trial's over and these people are convicted and they've accepted that that's who did it, and they think they got justice, and they think it's over, and then somebody comes along and drudges it back up. I understand how
I
hard
do
that's got
too.
to
I
be
do
for
too.
somebody to have to go through. um it sucks. I don't, I feel for them. I have, you know, respect and
Compassion,
sympathy for
empathy,
them.
empathy and compassion and sympathy. Yes.
So, but at the same time, you know, I have a job to do. I was hired to do that job, and you know, in the most respectful way possible, I am going to do my job. It does require some crowdsourcing, is what I like to call it, because, you know, we really appreciate and utilize our platform. Um, our platform, you know, has brought forth a lot of information in our cases. Um,
How come this chat's not working for me?
is it not working?
I see 14 here and I don't have any chats. I just have me asking
Oh,
everybody.
I've got it. Oh, I just now pulled it because you probably aren't on the right, in the right place. Tina says, "God bless you, praying for you." yes, let's do no sound from audio. Oh, gosh, that was way back. Okay.
So where would I
Oh,
send
and
it?
then she said I was teasing them with the Daryl Sells interview, and they weren't able to hear it. Wade says anybody that's ever heard McDonald's talk knows that's his voice on the 911 call. Mm-hmm. Yep. Gina's laughing. Tina says he said in court it was 2018, 29. Yeah, he did. He did. What the whole
What did
Dateline,
he say in
the whole
court?
the whole Dateline episode was pulled. The full one was.
What was the
Um,
2018, 19, what were you saying?
that's when we were in court and for the order of protection against Daryl Sells.
Oh, grand
Um,
order. Okay.
when I was explaining to the judge all the threats over the years, and I said something about when he said he was going to bash my head in, or said he wanted to bash my head in, and the judge said, "What year was that?" And I was like, "I don't know." It was, and then Daryl pipes up, goes, 2018, 2019. And then I go on to the next threat, and I said, and then he said that he was going to turn Tracy and I into chicken nuggets and deposit us into the sewer system for all of Dyer County to eat. And judge says, "Well, what year was that?" And I said, "I don't know. Ask him. He seems to, he seems to know." So,
You know, as how can I even say something as horrible as this? But it's almost like he's our Daryl.
the our Daryl. What the? What are you talking about right now?
I don't know. It's almost like I think he's funny when he is saying shit like that about his own. Oh, I like he said in the Dateline episode at the end. He does this evil laugh and saying he just admitted to saying he was going to bash your head in, and it's like,
Oh, he didn't admit it. He says, I think I said I wanted to rub her nose in the concrete, which is
yeah,
not what he said.
no,
It's
it's
still, that'd
not.
still
It's
be
in court
assault, but that's
records.
not murder.
He said that on
Like,
the stand, and it's in court records. So everybody, Freedom of Information Act.
all right, it should be in the transcripts from the preliminary hearing for Mark
Mhm.
Morgan.
I know that they have them. I know that they have to have had them because an attorney does have those, and the attorney's office did read that and said, "Yep, I found it."
Oh, Daryl.
Our
Every time I
Daryl.
say that, I think of the Witches of Eastwick with
Yep.
Jack Nicholson, and she says, "Oh, I can't remember. I'm not gonna be able to do it, but she, exactly, but something like, oh, Daryl, you are the most repulsive, blah blah. You have no sense of humor. You're utterly disgusting. You smell, blah blah blah." And then he says, "Do you want to be on top or bottom?" Anyway, I don't know why. Every time I'm like, "Oh, Daryl." I think of that.
I know. I was like, and that's what do you think his family's doing? Every time he opens his mouth, something happens that he's telling the world about this case, and they're going like, "Oh, oh God, oh God." But now everybody just and his friends just say, "Oh, if you know Daryl, that's how he talks."
Oh, just everybody just laughs it off. It's just
Oh
funny.
yeah,
That's just who he is. It's just how he is. He just likes to threaten to kill people. Ha 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 ha.
uh,
Funny
people
guy.
that yeah, he's
Funny
telling you
guy.
that is how Daryl is. Think about it.
Funny guy. He's funny.
Yep, he's hysterical. But only
Hysterical.
hysterical not because of what he says, it's because
Fucking
of what he
hysterical in a
reveals.
really not funny kind of way.
Yeah, what he reveals. It's, oh my God.
I
Oh,
swear.
2018, 2019.
It was
God.
2018, 2019 when I said I wanted to bash her head in.
Oh,
Yep.
God.
Oh well. Anyways, I think we've Covering up.
Got
Oh my
silly
God,
enough.
we're going on 2 hours.
I know. What does anybody else say? Okay, keep going. You said 2000. That's where we stopped. We got
Yep.
more. Say the rest of them.
Huh?
Tell me the
That's
rest.
it. That's it.
Oh, that was
That's
it?
all of them. Yeah. That's it. All right, guys. We love you. And just keep on keeping on. We're going to put our music on and let you guys ask us any questions you might have. And we'll talk to you again soon.
And I
Love
can't
you.
see them, so
Bye.
bye.
Fire in the hill. In the pines of Idaho, Weaver built his stand, a cabin for his family, a rifle in his hand. Entrapment on a shotgun, the marshals laid the snare. They marked him as an outlaw for choosing to live there. August brought the fire, Sam Weaver hit the ground. His dog was shot beside him, no warning, just a sound. Vicky stood with baby in the cabin door that day. A sniper's round from Horiuchi took her life away. Yeah, the hills turned red, the news turned black, but the Justice Department never looked back. Down in Texas, Koresh preached the end of days. Families gathered faithful in their holy place. But Ross and Cam were whispering to the press, calling them a cult so the feds could make a mess. NBC cameras fear on replay, the ATF itching for a raid that day. Helicopters swarming, tanks broken, children crying loud through the smoke within. Janet Reno's pen made the order true, but Clinton's hand signed the raid through. 82 bodies in the fire remain, charred in the chapel while America was shamed. And the flames rose high, the nation wept, but the broadcast told the lies they kept. The truck exploded, children gone, but one man's face couldn't stand alone. Witnesses whispered of a second hand, a shadow fleeing through the dust and sand. The papers wrote McVeigh bold and clean, but survivors swore there was more unseen. Guided by forces he could never name, a fall guy chosen for a deeper game. A pale horse rider on the radio waves, William Cooper spoke of the graves. Ruby Ridge, Waco, the lies they spun, he warned the world what was still to come. False flags rising, freedom betrayed, 9/11 visions in the words he laid. Branded a madman, hunted, despised, but the truth he told still burns in our eyes. November night, Arizona ground, police at his door, shots rang out loud. Silenced his voice, but the book remains, every page carved with the people's pain. Fire in the hills, smoke in the sky,